Some love stories don't have happy endings. But that doesn't mean they weren't real, that they didn't matter. Today, we're diving deep into Blue Valentine, 2010, a film that strips love of its idealized romance and exposes its raw, painful truth. This is not a fairy tale. It is not a story of grand gestures or perfect endings. Instead, it's an unfiltered portrayal of how relationships evolve, how love can decay, and why sometimes, despite our best efforts, things fall apart. The film's structure is emotionally devastating, as it juxtaposes two timelines, the passionate and hopeful beginning of Dean and Cindy's relationship and the present, where their marriage is crumbling. This contrast is what makes Blue Valentine so heartbreaking. It reminds us that love, in its early days, is full of excitement, intimacy, and a sense of invincibility. But over time, that love can change, and if not nurtured, it can fade. Dean and Cindy fall in love deeply, but their foundation is fragile. Cindy, coming from a broken home, longs for stability. Dean, with his spontaneous and carefree nature, seems to be the answer. But while Cindy grows, Dean remains the same, believing that love should be enough to keep them together. And that is where the cracks begin to show. One of the hardest truths this film teaches us is that love alone is not enough. Many people believe that if they love someone deeply, that should be sufficient to make a relationship last. But love is just the beginning. Relationships require effort, growth, understanding, and the ability to evolve together. Cindy is ambitious, striving for a better future, while Dean is content with just being in love, refusing to change or seek personal growth. Over time, this imbalance becomes too heavy to carry. Communication is another fundamental element in any relationship, and its absence is what destroys Dean and Cindy. In the beginning, they express their emotions freely, they dream together, they talk. But as their marriage starts to fall apart, they stop communicating. Cindy holds in her frustrations, while Dean, instead of addressing their problems, turns to drinking and nostalgia. They don't talk, they argue. They don't listen, they blame. And this lack of communication leads to resentment, creating an emotional distance too vast to bridge. There comes a point in every relationship where one person fights to hold on while the other lets go. Cindy has reached that point where she feels exhausted, as if she's carrying the entire weight of their relationship. She no longer sees Dean as a partner, but as someone she has to take care of. Dean, on the other hand, is still desperately trying to rekindle their love, believing that if he just reminds her of what they had, things will go back to the way they were. But love does not work like that. Love changes, and if both people don't change with it, they will eventually grow apart. A major theme in Blue Valentine is the idea that our past influences our future. Cindy comes from a broken home, and deep down, she fears repeating her parents' mistakes. But instead of confronting this fear, she allows it to shape her choices, making decisions based on avoiding pain rather than building something healthy. Dean, on the other hand, clings to the past, refusing to acknowledge that Cindy is no longer the same person she was when they first fell in love. This attachment to what was, instead of what is, ultimately prevents them from saving their marriage. Perhaps the most painful lesson of Blue Valentine is that some love stories are not meant to last. That doesn't mean the love wasn't real. It doesn't mean the relationship was a failure. Some people come into our lives to teach us, to change us, to help us grow. And sometimes, love is meant to be a chapter, not the whole book. The final scene, where Dean walks away while Cindy hesitates, is one of the most heartbreaking yet powerful moments in the film. It symbolizes the reality that sometimes, despite love, people must part ways. Dean is still fighting for them, but Cindy has already let go. It's not a dramatic, tear-filled goodbye. It's the quiet, painful kind of ending where both people realize that no matter how much they once meant to each other, they no longer belong together. This film forces us to confront the hard truths about love. Love is beautiful, but it is also fragile. Love requires more than just emotions, it needs commitment, communication, and growth. If one person stops trying, the relationship will fall apart. If partners don't grow together, they will grow apart. And sometimes, letting go is the only way forward. Blue Valentine is not just a film about heartbreak. It is a reminder that love is not guaranteed, that relationships require work, and that not all love stories have happy endings. But even if a relationship doesn't last forever, that doesn't mean it wasn't worth something. Some love stories teach us lessons we carry with us for the rest of our lives. Love is beautiful. Love is painful. And sometimes, the hardest lesson of all is knowing when to hold on and when to let go. What are your thoughts on Blue Valentine? Have you ever experienced love like this? Let's talk in the comments. And if you found this breakdown meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Real Life Lessons. See you next time, with another movie and another lesson in life.